So at the end of this chapter, I finally understand why everybody comments and probably chuckles inside anytime I've said, gear up, when I refer to Luffy.
One Piece, chapter 387, Gear!
So this is what everybody's been silently and sometimes vocally chuckling about every time I say gear up for the last 380-something chapters, man. Well, hello, my brothers and sisters of the Nerd Nation. I, as always, am Jim, here to bring you another review on the awesome and gear-filled tale of One Piece. Now, our last chapter really saw us focusing on, it was kind of for me, it was very funny because it was really Spandam trying to go and kind of, put the screws to Nico Robin about what was happening to the Straw Hats, and really we wind up finding out that the Straw Hats are doing just fine and pretty much just cutting a path right through the enemies, right to their front door. So very, very cool stuff, and we saw obviously that that Zoro had sliced open the doors, big chunks out of these giant stone doors, and that everybody was going to be proceeding into the courthouse, and obviously moving on from there, trying to meet up with Luffy. So that's where things left off, and that's right where things pick up. This chapter is a tale of two sides, two things that are going on, and the first half of it is solely based on the Frankie family members, as well as Zoro, Sanji, Nami, and Chopper that are, now inside the courthouse, and of course just going through and destroying everything and everybody in their way. And it's great because as you go and you see this great shot of the courthouse, there's like this huge tornado looking thing with just like bodies flying up in it. And I'm assuming that it was like Zoro just pulling one of his badass moves, And anyway, we wind up having Yokozuna the Frog, as well as a few of the Frankie family members. Once they get in there and kind of take out some of those initial guards that are in the courthouse, they're like, we'll cover the back. We're gonna stay here, make sure nobody else gets in, gets up behind you, creeps up behind you, that sort of thing. The Justice, Baskerville or whatever, the Chief Justice, the three-headed Chief Justice, of course, it actually starts out with him talking, finishing that conversation with Spandam about what's been going on and what have you, because Spandam calls down to him, and basically, what the bottom line is, the shit's hitting the fan. So, as this Chief Justice Baskerville sees them flooding into the courtroom, he decides he's going to start and hold court and start accusing them of all the crimes that they're being obviously accused of, right? So he can pass judgment in this fallacy of a courtroom, right? And it's so funny because as everybody just kind of keeps going through and not paying any attention to him at all, they're going up the stairs or taking guys out, you get some of the government guys that are like, oh yeah, geez, I can't believe it. They don't have any respect for the sanctity of the justice and this and that. And I'm thinking in my mind, yeah, fuck you. After you went and wrongfully captured anybody who opposed you or who you thought might be a threat to you, and then brought them in here in chains, chained down, and then went and gave them a farce of a trial to go and put them in and do like the shit that you did with Kashi and Oimo, lying to them and keeping them in the service for 50 years. That's what you get to the government, the world government, man. Boy, I tell you. And I don't think there's a whole lot of redeeming qualities about them at all. They seem like they're corrupt as fuck from top to bottom, everything that I've seen so far. And it seems like it's a bunch of fucking twits running it, man. I swear to God, best interests in mind. Anyways, that's just my 2 cents on it. And again, it may change as the story progresses, but that's just what I see now. I see that it's any sense of justice that they have for me is a complete lie and a complete falsity and just a complete travesty to even say. But, so anyway, Zoro winds up going and pulling out one of his onigiri move, and takes out a bunch of dudes. And then it's great because you got him and Chopper charging up over there. And then you got Sanji coming up behind. He's like, no, wait. He's like, I'm going to clear a path for Nami to make sure nobody hurts her. And he actually jump kicks and starts, fighting against Zoro and Chopper. And they're like, what the hell are you doing? Why are you fighting? And he basically was just fighting to get to the front of them so he could be the one to clear the path. And they're like, what do you mean, what about Nami? We're supposed to be rescuing Robin. He's like, oh yes, I'm sure she's sitting around crying, waiting for me to get there. And I just love the little lovesick Sanji. So it's actually kind of endearing when you think about it, It's his goofy, it's his just goofy personality and his way of dealing with things and how he puts women above everybody else, And it's so funny because then Zoro gets lost at one point. You take your eyes off him for a second, all of a sudden he's running up some other stairs, and Chopper and Nami are trying to redirect him. And Sanji's like, yeah, I'll make you some medicine for losers. Anyway, and you just see them all going down. The end of the first half, I guess you would say, though, is really the Chief Justice gets tired of them not listening to him and winds up going and pulling out this big-ass sword. And he's pretty big as well. He's much bigger than a normal human being. Not quite as big as the giants, but definitely big. And And he winds up going, to go to try to take them out and what have you. But the Frankie family, and it's funny because the Frankie family's like, we've heard of three-headed dogs before. We've never seen a three-headed human. The Frankie family, though, looks like they're going to go and be tasked with taking care of this guy. At least that's how their portion of the chapter ends off with saying, hey, your fight is with us, Cerberus. And I thought it was pretty cool. The second half of the chapter, and this was the really cool part, and this is the part that kind of had me just going, you gotta be kidding me. It was like so obvious, but I didn't know because I haven't read ahead and I don't know anything. I haven't spoiled myself. But any time that I've made mention of, it's just a saying that I've said for years, when you kind of get ready to do something, you gear up. You're gearing up for your attack. And it's not like I just made it up. It's a common expression that's been used because I know I heard it from somewhere when I was younger and continue to hear it till this day. But I've said that since my first review, whenever Luffy, or especially Luffy, was kind of going for an attack, because it's always gum, and I always look at it like he's gearing up, he's charging up, right, to fight. Anyway, that aside, it was kind of funny when I thought about it, because then in this second half, you see the aftermath of what happened a couple of chapters ago when he was fighting Blueno. Blueno was getting the upper hand. It ended with a couple of chapters ago with Blueno doing a Tempest kick on Luffy. Luffy dodged the kick, and he winds up kind of pulling himself back up onto the battlement or wherever that they're at the top of the tower. And Blueno's like, oh yeah, I'm surprised you dodged my Tempest kick. And Luffy's like, oh, it was nothing. He goes and scrapes him, he brushes himself off, So Blueno goes, and he knows that this kid's physical attributes are just off the charts, and then he's got to throw everything at him and just not let up, So he's using everything in the book, man. He's using Iron Body and then turning himself into like a spear, a pile driver. He's trying to pull out a finger pistol. He's shaved, Tempest kick. He's moonwalking around all over the place. He's doing all this shit, and really, it doesn't really matter what he's doing, because the bottom line is this boy going to get his ass whooped. Now, it doesn't happen right now, but it's coming. You know that. So we wind up getting, and I thought this was a great, profound moment where Luffy's kind of dodging and moving, and they're just sort of going back and forth. Luffy tries to hit him with a bullet. He uses the Iron Body. It's really a battle of wills, but nobody's really winning in particular, right? So Luffy just straight up goes and says, and he's just like, I can't beat you like this. And I'm thinking, what? There's no giving, Luffy. I'm turning the page. I got to turn the page. I got to see, And then he's just like, I love this, and he's just like, when I lost to Aokiji, Admiral AOK, as I like to call him, I thought if I was going to meet others just as strong out at sea, I had to grow stronger to protect my friends. Even if I'm not that strong, I have friends I want to be with. I've got to be stronger than everyone, or I'll lose them. And I love this, and he's just like, so what are you going to do? That's what Blueno says. And he's just like, I came up with a way to fight at top strength so I won't have to lose to anyone. And you see him, and he's just kind of like, and he starts steaming and shit. This is just amazing couple of pages here, because he starts steaming, and even Blueno's like, what the hell's going on? His body's steaming, this and that. So then Luffy goes and just like, you can't keep up with me anymore. And Blueno's like, what? All my abilities have evolved to the next level. Gear 2. Now, I don't know what the hell Gear 1 was, because this chapter was actually called Gear, and I'm assuming that means for him gearing up. But I don't know if, I guess his powers normally, he considers that to be Gear 1, and like it's kind of like he's a car, he's now putting it into the next gear, Gear 2. I don't know any of that shit. I'm going to find out, though, in about, 30 seconds. I don't even have a watch on. In about 30 seconds, once I'm finished up with this video and I hit the stop button, because that's the shit that's got to go down. It's the last chapter of the volume as well, so I am itching for that one. That's how things leave off, though. And honestly, my chapter question for your brothers and sisters, for those of you especially that have been with me for a long period of time, it's so funny because I do my best to read all the comments, once they've kind of already been proofread for me, so they're spoiler-free. But I've seen several times about, yeah, LOL, when Jim said gear up, I about died, or, that type of stuff, you know what I mean? Oh, man, I was laughing inside when Jim said gear up, and I've seen those here and there interspersed throughout, so if you're one of them that put that in there, you did a great job of kind of keeping me intrigued, and I kept it at the back of my mind, but I never really was spoiled anything, because I don't know what the hell you meant. But for those of you especially that have been with me for a while, or have heard me say in one or more of my reviews about gearing up, what were your thoughts on, and how were you able to keep from actually putting something in the comments and spoiling me? That's really what I would like to know, because everyone did such a good job. I'm just so very touched, and not in a weird way, not in a Hisoka pedophile clown type of way, touched, that the brothers and sisters of the nation, all of you that watch the videos, and now, on most of these, we're 1,000 or more views, or it's pretty regular within a few days. So there's a lot of views going on, right? And usually 100 or so comments and likes on videos. But it's amazing that nobody wound up letting the cat out of the bag with this one, because this looks like this is going to be an evolution of Luffy and his powers that's going to be used, I'm assuming, multiple times throughout the series. You know, that this is going to be one of his things now, you know? And just amazing that no one spoiled me. So I guess my question is, how did you manage to keep it inside? How did you manage to not do it? Or every time I said gear up, did you just kind of smile a little bit and go, just wait until you see Jim, chapter 386 or 7, whatever the hell it is. I forget. I'm reading them, you know, over here and recording a few a day. But let me know what your thoughts are on that in the comments down below. Once again, thank you for not spoiling me to that, because it seems like it'll obviously be a pretty big plot point if this is, you know, this is one of Luffy's powers moving forward, being able to kind of take it into gear too. Anyway, feel free to hit the thumbs up, the like button if you should think that I deserve it, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. We'll look forward to catching all of you in the next Fun Nation.
Come follow me on my other channels there, righto chap, and also Twitter and Facebook and Instagram.